Well, this certainly is exciting, isn't it? Kirby's Return to Dreamland, a personal favorite Kirby game of mine, has been re-released on the Switch as Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. And if you know anything about what we do here at CMeeCraft Gaming, you know what sentence comes next. Is it possible to beat Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe without jumping? Now, as is usually the case with these Kirby no-jump challenges, our goal is to get to and beat the final boss without using the move jump/hover. Theoretically a tough ask in a platformer, but that's what we're aiming for. The way we typically go about this is by using copy abilities to acquire moves to act as jump replacements. Of course, you don't start the game with any copy abilities, so we're gonna have to find some first. So let's dive into Cookie Country Stage 1 and look into that. Much to my dismay, an obstacle meant to be jumped over was placed in our path almost immediately in the form of this little pothole. As we don't have a copy ability yet, we're stuck trying to get past this with Kirby's default moveset, which as far as I can tell doesn't have an answer to this problem. What I wouldn't give to have the bouncy Forgotten Land style dodges in this game. But alas, we do not. What we do possess is robust multiplayer. You see, in Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, a second player can drop in or out of the game at any time. This second player can choose to join in as Meta Knight, King Dedede, Bandana Waddle, or what we're interested in this time, another Kirby. In this game, Kirbys can suck up and spit each other out. This doesn't give any height, but we don't need height here. We need distance. And that, our pair of Kirbys can most certainly provide each other by spitting each other out, getting us past our first major obstacle easily. It's in the wake of that obstacle that we claim our first copy ability, Sword. Sword is a very nice entry-level copy ability with some fine jump replacements, namely the upward slash and drill stab. The upward slash achieves about the same height of jump will, certainly useful when we're trying to use it to replace jumping. The drill stab is more situational. It's great for boss fights, but for navigation the only thing it can really achieve is clearing 2 Kirby-wide gaps. So overall, I'm glad to have a copy ability that provides a clean-cut direct replacement for jumps, but it is disappointing that that's about as far as it goes. My disappointment was almost immediately justified. This is the flying tutorial, a cliff slightly too high for one to be able to summit it with a jump, thus ensuring the player learns how to hover. As I just said, the upward slash gives us height about equivalent to that of a jump. See the problem? Just like jumping falls slightly short of clearing the flying tutorial, so too do our upward slashes. But not to worry. I recall distinctly from my no-jump challenge on the original Wii version of Kirby's Return to Dreamland that Sword is capable of achieving flight if you upward slash again while still in midair from the prior one. And so I tried that, and it, didn't work. I guess HAL must have changed how exactly the upward slash functions in this remake. Now, flight from Sword will certainly make this challenge more difficult than it was on the Wii version. So in short, I feel personally targeted by this development. Luckily, I've got a backup plan. Once again, multiplayer comes to our aid. This is because you can ride your fellow Kirbys in Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. Once you're mounted, simply drop the other Kirby out, and boom! You're upward slashing from a higher baseline than you were previously, enough so to get past the flying tutorial. We next found ourselves in a little cave encountering an old friend of ours. A key. You'll notice that we can't use any of our jump replacements while holding a key, since our attack button instead just throws the key. But at least for this encounter, that weakness became a strength, as in this game, Kirby throws like Tom Brady in his prime. Therefore, we get past this door fairly easily. The stage finishes off with a taste of Kirby's Return to Dreamland's major gimmick, super copy abilities. In this case, Ultra Sword. These are scary abilities as none of them have viable jump replacements. But that doesn't matter too much when picking up a super copy ability in the first place is entirely optional. Which, at least this time, it is. Alright, sword in hand, let's move on to the next level. In Stage 2, we started to encounter gaps over bottomless pits. You can't clear these with a single upward slash or drill stab. But if you chain a couple of upward slashes together, you can manage it. Yes, the upward slash can't gain height and fly in this game, but it can do a decent job of more or less preserving your height, at least over small to medium width pits. That being said, this one seems to be a bit much. Normally, to get past this, you jump while holding a cannon to activate the switch in the upper right to bring up a bridge. But obviously, we can't do that. What we can do is upward slash up to it in hopes of hitting it with our sword instead, which works out just fine. In stage 3, we encounter an even taller cliff face than the one from the flying tutorial. I'm honestly not sure how we're going to get up this one with upward slashes. But maybe we don't have to. Maybe we can try out a new copy ability. Fire. Fire as a copy ability doesn't help much when it comes to vertical movement. With a jump replacement like Burn, really it's fast horizontal movement that's more so Fire's wheelhouse. Although even then, Fire can be tough to use effectively. You have to be very attuned to how far one burn will take you, otherwise you'll miss the platforms you had wished to land on, and potentially fall to your demise. But back to the height issue. There is, however, one circumstance where Fire absolutely excels at gaining height. That circumstance is when one finds themselves having to scale an entirely flat wall. And what do you know, that's exactly what we're up against here. Yes, this obstacle was just about impassable with sword, but with Fire, it barely registers as a speed bump. This section of Stage 4 highlights the weaknesses of Fire. Without a flat wall for climbing, Fire really struggles to move up the old Y-axis. In this case, you have to burn from exactly the right spot to catch the exact edge of this overhang to be able to clear the obstacle. After an obstacle like that, there is a very good case to be made that I shouldn't have brought Fire into this level in the first place. Or at least, that's what I thought, until I saw that this was one of the level's final obstacles. So, yeah, glad I brought Fire. It had been a while since I last fought Wispy Woods with burning, and quite frankly, I forgot how easy it was. Well then, on to Raisin Ruins. I'll be honest, Stage 1 here wasn't all that demanding, but it did introduce me to some pretty good copy abilities, like Whip. The Whip Tornado is Whip's main jump replacement. It's a bit more finicky to activate than the upward slash, and there's no way to activate a second one before you land your first one. But it does have better airtime, and you can move items like keys around without having to pick them up with it. I can't say it's a straight upgrade over Sword, but there are certainly circumstances where this is the copy ability I'd rather have. But Whip wasn't the only copy ability present in Stage 1, Sand was also rather intriguing. Sand is coarse and irritating, it gets everywhere. But it also has a decent jump replacement, the Sand Geyser, which is yet another roughly jump height jump replacement. Unfortunately, this one too has no prospects at flight. That is to say, it's perfectly usable, but nothing special. What does make Sand a bit special is that it has the serviceable jump replacement while also having an amazing block, the Sand Hide, which basically makes Kirby incorporeal for as long as he's hiding in his pile of sand. Great for combat, among other obstacles, certainly. Stage 2 is our introduction to water, and also our introduction to water. While using water, Kirby can use the Wave Surf, which gets a slight amount of height. But what is really exciting at water is what you can do after Wave Surf, the Fountain Hover. This move has Kirby gaining elevation by spitting water straight down, and so far this move represents the highest any of our jump replacements can take us. But there are some major problems with it that keep me from even particularly liking to use water. Firstly, you gain height fairly slowly with Fountain Hover, which can be problematic at getting past timing-based obstacles. But the real deal breaker is that you need to activate the Fountain Hover while in midair, which can be achieved by crashing your Wave Surf against something like a wall or step, but is honestly really annoying to pull off in practice. Oh, and there's also the fact that the Fountain Hover is terrible at maintaining height if you ever have to cross a gap, which is often what we're trying to achieve with our jump replacements. So overall, it's got its use cases, but I don't really like its general utility. For those reasons, I ditch water to get past this final part of the level in favor of Whip, which works incredibly, so long as you don't accidentally whip the super cop ability onto you. Yeah. Stage 4 introduces us to yet another copy ability, Tornado. Honestly, I feel sort of bad for water. It got literally one stage to have the highest jump replacement we have access to, and already Tornado has stolen that crown from us. The Tornado attack is fast, invincible, and can achieve great height, but it is a bit annoying to control. That being said, you can tame your landings in particular by holding B during the attack to get a Hyper Tornado, which gives you much more control towards the end of your Tornado attack. Oh, one other thing to mention is that, though it's not exactly smooth, Tornado is our first ability which grants us true flight, since you can activate a Tornado attack while you're still midair from the previous one and gain a whole bunch more height. Not smooth, but it does work. Whip handled the opening of Stage 4, including this key section, admirably. But then at the end of the level, the Super Cop ability almost seemed necessary to possess to progress. Luckily, in such circumstances, there's no rule saying that it can't be player 2 who possesses it. So that's what we do. We have Yellow Kirby take the Ultra Sword, letting him teleport to where he's needed, and occasionally clearing our path. With that, and an easy Mr. Duder fight out of the way, we're moving on to Onion Ocean. In Stage 1, we find out that Sword is terrible at dealing with these ropes, as for some reason, Kirby can't grab stuff like ropes when coming out of an upward slash. Luckily, Whip doesn't have that same hang-up, so we can use Whip to get through. Additionally, later on in the level, we run into another useful copy ability, Spear. Spear is like the anti-Tornado. Its Spearcopter is slow and doesn't grant you invincibility, but has probably the most precise controls of any jump replacement in the game. But it also has a considerable charge time before it can be activated, which means it's tough to react quickly with it, and it's extremely impractical to fly infinitely with it. I'd say in general I like it better than Tornado, but there are certainly tasks which it just simply can't do. That being said, for finishing off Stage 1, it is just what the doctor ordered. Stage 2 is a real water level, which in theory our challenge shouldn't make too difficult, since our rules don't do much to affect our ability to swim. Though you need to be careful not to lose your cop ability in the water, and some cop abilities like Spear don't really work jump replacement wise from the surface of the water. In this particular case, I had to switch to water in order to progress. Stage 3 features another annoying implementation of a super cop ability. You basically have to use Monster Flame to destroy these totem things. But like last time, we can just outsource the super cop ability to Yellow Kirby. Though this time around things are certainly harder due to the much more precarious terrain. Still possible though. My hopes for a successful challenge were almost dashed by this obstacle in Stage 4. Sword was the cop ability I brought to it, and Sword quite simply did not have the height to clear it. I guess we can always just come back with Tornado instead. Or we can join in a Yellow Kirby at the apex of the upward slash and have him take us through to the door. Mission accomplished. Spear does decently well against Fatty Puffer, and now it's on to White Wafers, where we are immediately confronted with maybe the best copy ability in the game, Fighter. Fighter has two major jump replacements, the Rising Break and the Spin Kick. The Rising Break is like an upward slash that also features some more notable forwards movement. But that's not why it's better. It's better because you can actually fly infinitely and gain height with it. That is amazing in and of itself. From there, the Spin Kick, which is great for killing enemies and stepping up small steps, is really just icing on the cake. And really, Fighter is so good that it more or less single-handedly got us through White Wafers relatively simply. Though Nutty Noon Stage 3 served to humble Fighter somewhat. These ropes are annoying, but not as annoying as the wind which the Rising Break really can't fight too hard against. But you know what they say, if you can't beat 'em, become 'em. As it turns out, Tornado is the play here. It's a bit hectic, but it can certainly fight the wind, and as long as you finish above ropes, you can fall down and grab onto a rope after your Tornado attack ends, thus allowing you to progress through the tower. I tried bringing Tornado into Stage 4, which worked out great, until I accidentally switched it out for Fire at an inopportune moment. Spear's better precision proves a viable antidote in this circumstance. Then from there, Nutty Noon is all boss fights, which Fighter is quite adept at handling. Likewise, Fighter did great in Egg Engine Stage 1, except for trying to thread the needle between these sleep copy abilities. Obviously, falling asleep isn't really advantageous for our goal here today. To solve this dilemma, I brought in Spear, which is not as good at handling the rest of the level, but not unbearably so. But it's exactly what we need to stay awake, so there we go, Stage 1 cleared. Stage 2 was an even more Spear-friendly world, and Stage 3 with its conveyor belts was most certainly not. That being said, Fighter was able to handle it with ease. Stage 4 was mainly underwater and quite easy. Then this very last part of Stage 5 annoyed me. Fighter was certainly capable of getting past it, it just wasn't easy with all of the steps you had to go up and the enemies and the like. Still possible though. We demolished the Metal General and soon found ourselves in dangerous dinner. The control offered by Spear proved greatly useful in getting through the challenges posed by Stage 1. Though I would like to give special mention to this key. It may not look like it, but this is a saboteur. Here's what the sabotage looks like. You pick up the key as you run by, not thinking much of it. Then you encounter this enemy and quickly find that you have no way to attack it as your hands are occupied holding a key. Then you die. The solution? Cast it into the fire when you get a chance, which is right after you pick it up. Then you can attack the enemy and move on with your life. I ended up using a ton of copy abilities in Stage 2. We started off appreciating the precision of Spear, then we traded it out for High Jump when speed of ascension became a more pressing concern. High Jump, I know you might not think counts as not jumping, but the move High Jump is not the move Jump/Hover, and doesn't even use the jump button. So my philosophy here is that a jump replacement by any other name is still a jump replacement. As for the copy ability itself, its jump replacement is great, I just don't like that said jump replacement is basically the entirety of its moveset. That makes attacking enemies with it quite annoying. But here its speed and flight prove invaluable. Not so invaluable as to stop me from switching out for fire in this section, where we've got to move horizontally quickly. And finally we finish off the level with Tornado, making great use of its invincibility. Then Stage 3 is actually extremely easy with Fighter. From there we go on to Best Landia with it, and enjoy this jump-free shoot-'em-up section. And finally, we embrace Sand with its amazing block to bring down Maglor Jumpless, thus proving that it is possible to beat Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe without jumping. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, you may want to check out my other Kirby challenges, of which there are many, including the no jump challenge of the Wii version of Kirby's Return to Dreamland. I'd also very much appreciate it if you left this video a like, perhaps even a comment as well. Additionally, if you want to support the channel, you may want to consider joining my Patreon to get access to videos like this one early, and get some bonus content like the Paralogs companion video to my recent Fire Emblem challenge. Anyway, thank you to my patrons, especially the $15 tier patrons, Enigmatic Mr. L, and Ashford Says. Additionally, if you like games, and why wouldn't you, you can take a look at the card game I designed, Time Travel Entertainment Incorporated, from Button Shy Games. But anyways guys, until next time, I've been CMeeCraft, ready to continue my challenge travels in another video soon. Goodbye.